This is the second video for January 9th, January 10th. If you are 3B, 4B, we did this on January 12th. We're going to solve these two equations. I'm going to give you the solutions for the third one, and that'll be the end of that. But here, now we want to solve equations. On the previous page, we used the formulas to derive some new identities or verify some identities. Here we're using it to solve equations. Now this is a key difference because this does not mean, like the previous one, this does not mean that this plus this will equal 1. What we're trying to do is try to figure out what values for theta make this equation true. Okay? Well, and what we're going to do is now, so sine, and you write the sine formula, write that up here. But basically we have two places where we can use the sine sum and difference formula, substitute it, things should divide, cancel out, things like that, and we should end up with an equation that we're familiar with from last year. So let me write this down. Okay, so we're going to use this formula. I'm going to use that to replace this piece here. And so what we would end up with is, if we replace this, sine of theta, cosine of pi, plus, since it's plus here, plus the addition goes together, cosine theta sine of pi, plus, now this piece will go here. We do the same thing, use the same formula that just, goes right here. So sine of theta again, cosine of pi. Since it's minus now, we use minus here, cosine theta sine of pi, and this equals 1. Now there's a lot of ways you could think about this. If you wanted to cancel these out now, you could. Positive cosine theta sine pi, negative cosine theta sine pi. I think what would be more beneficial is to actually replace values. So we know that sine of theta we can keep. Cosine of pi would be -1. Sine at pi, the sine value of pi is 0. Sine of theta, cosine again at pi would be -1. And sine at pi again is 0. So we're replacing values. All of these values can be replaced and found on the unit circle. And whether we did it here or now, we can notice also anything times 0 is 0, so this term goes away, that term goes away. Now we have sine times -1, which would give us negative sine theta. That's this piece here, sine times -1, again negative sine theta. That would go there, and all this equals 1. Now, this is very similar to if we had on the right over here, negative x minus x. Similar thing is happening here. Negative x minus x, that would give you negative 2x. Similar thing here, negative sine minus sine. This is -2 sine theta equals 1. And now we're solving an equation like we did last semester. We want to get the sine of theta on its own. So the way we can do that, we can divide by -2. Sine of theta equals -1/2. And now we look, where on the unit circle does sine equal -1/2? And those values would be theta equals 7 pi over 6 and theta equals 11 pi over 6. Those are our two values, our two solutions that make this equation true, because that's where ultimately where sine is equal to -1/2. Alright. If you need to pause, get some clarification, rewind, fine, do it, please, by all means. I'm going to go on the next equation, let you solve the last one on your own. So similar thing here. We want to use the cosine. I'm going to do this. cosine sum of difference formula. I'm going to write that here. Cosine of alpha plus or minus beta. So we'll use this formula twice, similar to what we did in the previous problem. And then hopefully things cancel out, divide out, all that fun stuff. But I'm just going to replace these two using the formula. So this piece here, we have cosine theta, cosine, not sine, using the formula, cosine pi over 4. Now again, because it's addition here, addition is on top here, subtraction there. So minus plus, and then I'm replacing this part here, cosine theta plus sine theta, sine pi over 4, all of this equals square root of 2. So now let's try to solve this. Cosine of theta, we keep cosine of pi over 4, we know is square root of 2 over 2. Minus sine theta, sine of pi over 4 is square root of 2 over 2. Cosine theta, cosine of pi over 4 is square root of 2 over 2. Kind of get the picture. All this equals square root of 2. Now hopefully we can notice from here we have a negative sine theta square root of 2 over 2, positive sine theta square root of 2 over 2. These are going to go away. We have the same thing twice, but here it's negative and there it's positive. So a similar thing like negative x plus x, that's just 0, it goes away. So these terms will go away. Now I'm actually going to rewrite this because I think it's a beneficial thing. I'm going to rewrite this and put the coefficient in front of our term. So I'm going to write this as square root of 2 over 2 cosine theta plus, again, put writing the coefficient in front of our cosine term. Alright. And again, we have the same thing. Similar to what we had with the x's. X plus x is 2x. Same thing here. We have the same thing twice. So what's happening is this becomes 2, if you want to think of it, times square root of 2 over 2 cosine theta. Okay? Now, what I would do is, if it helps you write this as a fraction, I would multiply these two things here. And if we did that, we can notice that the 2 in the numerator, 2 in the denominator, I'm going to finish this over here. What we would end up with is square root of 2 over 1, which is just square root of 2 cosine theta. That's going to equal square root of 2. And then we can divide both sides by square root of 2. End up with cosine theta equals square root of 2 divided by square root of 2 would just be 1. We're going to need this up here. Maybe not right now. Now we look on our unit circle, where does theta, cosine of theta equal 1? Well, that place is 0 and 2 pi. Now, what I was going up to is here. Here we want theta that lies within 0 to 2 pi. That's what we want as our solution. Now the parentheses here means that we get really close to it but never touch 0, which means we do not include 0. This bracket means we do include 2 pi. It does touch at 2 pi. So our solution, because again, we don't touch 0, we do touch 2 pi. Our solution is not 0, our solution is 2 pi. That would be our solution. Alright? Again, if you need to pause it, ask questions, please do so in solving this equation. Now, I'm going to let you solve this one, but I will say this. What you're going to end up with this part is sine of theta cosine of 7 pi over 6 minus cosine theta sine of 7 pi over 6. That's what this piece becomes. However, put this in parentheses because of this minus sign. This becomes something on its own. Be careful with the minus sign. Because of this minus sign and what this becomes two separate terms. To actually simplify and distribute, you have to distribute the minus sign. So this minus sign will make this potentially negative, but like think of it as this will become positive sign, negative sign, and then you also have to distribute it here. So this minus sign will kind of become an addition sign, if you will. So be careful with that when you solve. If you solve it correctly, what you should end up with is that theta equals 7 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. Try it on your own, see what you get. If you have questions, email me, contact me, ask me in class. Anything I can do to help, please let me know, and I'll try to do that.